Welcome to my channel, F1 News. 3 races, 9th in Japan, couldn't make Q3. Verstappen calling himself a complete passenger inside his own machine. That was Red Bull just 2 weeks back. Today in Miami, front row, second behind Antonelli, hunting down the Mercedes drivers through the sprint race, running a package that Verstappen described as absolutely unthinkable before this weekend even began. And then after qualifying, he said something that completely reframes Red Bull's entire opening 3 races. It wasn't just the upgrades, there was something else. Something broken since the very first lap of pre-season testing in Barcelona, and nobody could identify it. For 3 full race weekends, Verstappen was piloting a car with a damaged steering system while his engineers searched without success. He knew. He flagged it on lap 1 in Barcelona. They simply couldn't locate it until the break. One quick note before we get into everything. The Miami Grand Prix has been pushed 3 hours earlier today. A storm is closing in on Florida. Officials confirmed the schedule change last night. Race start is 1:00 p.m. local time. Whatever unfolds on that grid today, it happens fast. Let's break down exactly what Red Bull discovered and what it means for 2026. This is the detail that completely reframes how you interpret Red Bull's first 3 races. From lap 1 in Barcelona, Verstappen was telling his engineers something felt wrong with the steering. Not car balance, not the tires, the steering itself. He could sense it. Something was off in how the car responded to his inputs. Unpredictable, inconsistent, sometimes understeering, sometimes snapping, sometimes behaving entirely differently between sessions with 0 setup changes made. For 3 race weekends, the engineers investigated. They found nothing. Verstappen described the experience of driving it. He felt like a total passenger. It could understeer, it could snap, it could behave differently from one session to the next without a single part being touched. That is not a car carrying a performance deficit. That is a car with a deep-rooted handling fault masking whatever real performance deficit actually existed underneath it. During the April break, they finally located it. The steering rack was completely replaced. Every surrounding component was swapped out alongside it, not because they were certain that was the sole cause, but because they needed to eliminate every possible variable at once. Verstappen sensed the improvement immediately at the Silverstone filming day. The car responded differently. He could steer the way he actually wanted to steer. He said he could finally drive the way he wanted using just his steering inputs, and that it helps enormously. Read that again. The 4-time world champion was unable to drive to his own standards for 3 races because of a faulty steering rack. The steering repair was one piece of it. The upgrade package was the other, and combined they produced something that genuinely surprised even Verstappen himself. Red Bull arrived in Miami carrying heavily revised side pods, a fresh floor, and their own interpretation of the Macarena wing. The rotating rear wing concept, introduced by Ferrari, the one Red Bull were rumored to be developing after spotting it during Bahrain testing, is now mounted on the RB22. Not a direct copy of Ferrari's design. Red Bull's version uses a central actuation mechanism rather than Ferrari's side motors, but the aerodynamic principle is identical. Reduce drag along the straights while preserving downforce through the corners. The side pod revision is significant. The updated design alters the downwash profile, how air travels around and behind the side pod toward the rear of the car. This directly impacts the floor and diffuser performance underneath, which is responsible for generating the majority of the car's total downforce. The new floor works alongside the revised side pod to maximize diffuser output. The combined result of these updates, according to Verstappen, is front-end responsiveness he can actually trust. He can rotate the car aggressively. He has genuine confidence in the front. Before Miami, he was holding back, avoiding pushing the front because he couldn't predict how it would react. That restraint was costing him lap time that had absolutely nothing to do with raw car performance. It was a driver afraid of his own machine. That fear has disappeared. Red Bull closed the gap to the front of the field by roughly 1 second compared to Japan. 1 second in a weekend where Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes all brought significant updates of their own. That is not a minor number. Antonelli on pole, 1 minute 20, 7.798. Third consecutive pole of his Formula One career, joining Senna and Schumacher as drivers to claim their first 3 F1 poles in succession. That means something. Verstappen second, 0.166 seconds adrift. Red Bull on the front row for the first time in 2026. Leclerc third. Ferrari delivered. The upgrade package is working. Norris fourth. And then it gets complicated. McLaren won the sprint and dominated it completely. Norris and Piastri finishing 1-2. Then in qualifying, Norris fourth, Piastri seventh, a 7/10 gap back to Antonelli. Norris called it a reality check. Something about how the track surface evolved, the conditions shifted, the wind changed, and McLaren's car responded poorly. Piastri described something strange happening mid-lap. Nobody has a clear explanation yet. This is exactly what makes Miami genuinely unpredictable heading into the race. You have a Mercedes that topped qualifying, a Red Bull that was quickest in the sprint, a Ferrari with a new package delivering results, and a McLaren that dominated the sprint, but cannot explain why qualifying fell apart. 4 teams, 4 completely separate stories, 1 race, and then the approaching storm. The race moved 3 hours forward. If the weather arrives during the race, which remains possible, wet conditions change the entire picture. Verstappen in wet conditions from second on the grid with a car that finally obeys his inputs. That is not a poor position to be occupying. The honest question after Miami qualifying is whether this represents a one-off performance or a genuine change in trajectory. Verstappen addressed it head-on. He said Red Bull are not there yet. Weaknesses remain. Things still need understanding. The opening sector in Miami was still creating problems on Friday. Hadjar finished qualifying 0.8 seconds behind. Identical gap to Japan. The upgrade delivered for Verstappen. It has not delivered the same results for his teammate. That difference is worth monitoring closely. The steering fix likely explains part of it. Verstappen possesses a sensitivity to car feedback that most drivers simply don't have. He detected the fault from lap 1. Hadjar, in his debut season and still learning how to extract maximum performance from a Formula One car, may not have had the same reference points to articulate what was wrong. The car improvement may therefore be of greater specific value to Verstappen than it reflects about the package overall. The Lambius announcement still hangs in the background. The departures of Newey, Horner, Marco, and Wheatley still linger. Red Bull's structural challenges haven't been resolved by a steering rack and a revised side pod. But Verstappen said something in Miami that deserves to be held on to. Sometimes you need exactly that. He needed to witness the team responding. A major upgrade actually working. Confirmation that a month of hard work wasn't wasted. He witnessed it. For 1 weekend at least, Red Bull looked like a team capable of fighting at the front. Whether that continues in Monaco 2 weeks from now is the next question worth asking. A broken steering rack, 3 wasted race weekends, a driver who sensed it from lap 1 and couldn't make his engineers believe him quickly enough, and then 1 month, 1 filming day at Silverstone, 1 upgrade package, and Verstappen sits on the front row in Miami calling it completely crazy. That is the real Red Bull story from this weekend. Not just upgrades, a fundamental problem finally discovered and corrected. The engineers couldn't find it. Verstappen kept reporting it. Barcelona, Australia, China, Japan, every single weekend the same sensation, passenger not driver. Every weekend the same conclusion from the data. Nothing conclusive. Until the break. Until someone finally swapped the steering rack, replaced every component surrounding it, and sent Verstappen to Silverstone to feel the change himself. He felt it immediately. The car Verstappen always believed was hiding beneath the chaos showed up in qualifying. Second on the grid, 0.166 from pole, hunting the Mercedes cars through the sprint. A trajectory that looks nothing like the first 3 races of this season. Questions remain. Hadjar was 8/10 back, identical to Japan. Sector 1 was still a problem Friday. Red Bull are not where they want to be. Verstappen confirmed that himself. But here's what matters about that phrase. 3 races ago, not there yet meant scrapping for Q3. This weekend, it means 0.166 from pole position. That is a fundamentally different kind of not there yet. The structural issues haven't vanished either. Lambias leaving in 2028. Newey gone. Horner gone. The organization that constructed 4 back-to-back championships continues rebuilding itself around people who weren't part of those titles. One strong weekend changes none of that. But Verstappen spoke directly about needing to see a big upgrade work, needing confirmation the team could respond, needing proof that month of effort wasn't pointless. He got it. And sometimes that is precisely enough to keep a driver committed to a car he might otherwise be reconsidering. Whether it translates in the race depends partly on what the storm delivers. 3 hours earlier. Wet conditions possible. A completely different race from everything anyone planned for. Verstappen in the wet from the front row in a car that finally responds the way he wants it to. That is not a bad combination at all. 4 teams carrying completely different stories into the same race. This one is genuinely worth watching. You know where to find us. Thanks for watching my channel, F1 News.